My name is not Jamil. I am 22 years old. I like music, dancing, ballet, crushing up rocks and snorting them, and genderless people. I like to eat, but I don't like it when it lingers on my body. I like to take up as little space as possible. I like pretty textures in sound. I like the way some music makes me feel. I like making up my own world and the people who live inside me. I like to dress up and not going out. I like my cat, me so. I like touching myself, and I like being far away from my own body. I like sweet things, physical and consumable. I like short sentences that say everything I felt at one go. I like obsessing over people and then throwing them away. I like being a boy. I like being a girl. I like getting fucked. And I like to be pure. I like believing there's a cure. But most of all,
Not Shamil. They were born December 16, 1997 in Singapore. They're a non-binary singer, producer, painter, songwriter, and a self-identified cyborg entity. Yeule describes each song of Soft Scars as being tied to a scar from your past, and the softness of those scars is that lingering vulnerability that you can feel from the pain of those experiences, but also the softening of it is representative of how you can heal from traumas and painful memories, but they'll never completely go away, just like scars on your skin. Despite past albums being a little bit more, I would say, a little bit sadder, a lot bit sadder, in terms of the topics that are discussed. Yeule has said that Soft Scars is a lot more personal for them, and the album itself is a lot stronger with shoegaze sounds and a lot of emo sounds, rock sounds, but there still is a lot of the hints of that glitch pop that they're known for, especially with their earlier albums. despite that, this album still explores all the intricacies of the digital experience, and as the same way they have in their past stuff, but they do still touch a lot with looking into themselves in a deeper way, and all the experiences they've had, and also just kind of just confessing all their emotions and looking into themselves in different identities and different lights. Having grown up as a hikikomori, basically, has heavily inspired a lot of their love and connection towards the online world, including the way they create different identities. And they've done this since they were really young as a sort of comfort, and also kind of to be able to show different suppressed sides of themselves. And just growing up in the online world has taken a very big part of their life, and that's reflected in their music, especially earlier on with their very electronic and almost glitchy sound that they're known for. That's very prevalent throughout that, and along with their music videos and just how they present themselves in general with their makeup and their fashion taste. Especially nowadays, almost every artist is using the internet just to promote themselves. But for Yeule, it's an integral part of their identity, and honestly an integral part of the world they create with their music. Growing up isolated from not only the physical world, but emotionally from people, has led them to develop these really strong feelings of just loneliness and isolation. And having also grown up with a lot of asthma issues and being hospitalized for that constantly, and having overbearing parents, definitely pushed that further. And it wasn't until they found their own little community on the internet that through multiplayer video games and forums and just social media such as Tumblr, they were able to find other people that they connect with and are very like-minded in terms of the things they like and how they feel inside, and how they feel disconnected towards the world in general. Very fittingly, Yeule's fans are lovingly named glitches, kind of, putting like a nice cute little nod towards their love for the online world, and just it being like a really nice, cool part of their identity, and their music's aesthetic as well. Other topics that comes up very often in their music are eating issues, complex identities, body dysmorphia, having a hard time connecting to people, not feeling real in the physical realm, and kind of just figuring your own way throughout it, as well as love, and whether that be towards yourself or others. Those are just a few of the many complex issues that, or not just issues, just topics in general that come out through their lyrics and their music videos. And a lot of the more tougher topics are a lot more present or prevalent, I would say, in their earlier music. Soft Scars, however, is a little bit more of a healing type of album, I would say. It still definitely touches on those topics as well, but there is a little bit more of a softer feeling of course, kind of, it not just with the name, kind of, well, if you talk about the name, soft scars, the scars are gonna always be prevalent on your skin. They're always gonna be there, but they heal over, and they do get softer over time, but they will still be there. So it's kind of like an album about healing and kind of just, acknowledging all of your bad issues, but coming to terms with it, and also just, I guess, pushing through it all. Yeule themselves has said that the album sounds like emo for cyborgs, which I think is a pretty good description of it. But sonically, they have said they've been, or not sonically, musically, they've been inspired by The Bright Eyes, The National, Adrienne Lecker, and Maisie Star, and if I'm not mistaken, they also mentioned the Smashing Pumpkins, I'm pretty sure. And Mitski for sure. Okay, finally moving on, I'm gonna get into talking about the Soft Scars album. For me, I've noticed the most common themes being love, feeling unreal, self-harm, unhealthy relationships, drugs, and unhealthy coping skills, and different mentions of technology. And you can kind of see these themes in other works as well, in separate albums. And the technology references is like a common thing in a lot of Yeule's discography, with mentions of stuff like error code 404, parts, software updates, etc., etc. And of course, these interpretations of the album are just my personal interpretations. That's the beauty of free will and of art. You could literally interpret it however you like, and your interpretation of what certain songs or art or music in general means to you, or how you interpret it, can change over time, and that's the cool part. Starting off with XWX, I noticed that it describes the feeling of being so emotionally overwhelmed, and wanting to become numb or robotic-like to numb the pain of it all. And then you can also hear the intense guitar and the vocal screams throughout the song, and it adds to the intensity, and it sets the tone of that sense of overwhelming emotional state that Yeule is referring to throughout the song. It's a really bold and strong start to the album, and personally, the way I relate to it is I oftentimes get to that point where I'm feeling a overwhelming sense of despair when I have a meltdown, and it causes this disconnect in my body. Like, it causes a disconnect from my body and my mind to where I feel like completely foreign, and like I'm separate from both of those things, and I feel like I have no sense of control of whatever's going on inside me and around me. Next on the list is Sulky Baby. I feel like this song portrays the feeling of being emotionally drained to the point of where you're resorting to seeking an adrenaline rush in unhealthy ways to cope through that state of being, whether it be through sex and love, and then just also losing touch with reality and getting hurt in the process of it all. And the way that Yeule does the vocals in this song, you can feel that emotional state where you're just to that point where you're kind of just done with it all. She does these very soft and tired sounding vocals that also help portray that or evoke that sort of emotion. You could also interpret it as being so depressed that you're at a point to where you're just searching for something, anything, someone to help you get out of this dark hole that you can't really seem to just dig yourself out of anymore. Up next is Soft Scars. I noticed that it describes a love interest that's all but blissful. It's full of thorns and prickly, but it's hard to let go of that sort of rose thorn once it sinks in, and you're kind of just enchanted by that sweet scent that the rose gives off, that you try your best to not notice that the thorn is sticking right into your skin. And it also leaves a soft scar, so once you do let it go, it's hard to forget once it's all over, because that scar is, you know, a remnant of that memory or of that person or whatever it may be. Personally, the way I relate to this song is I've been in a situation, like a love situation, if you could say that, that was really hard for me to let go of for the longest time. And despite me feeling almost like alone the whole time in that situation and feeling hurt because I wasn't feeling the sort of reciprocation that I was hoping for, and I was kind of really desperate for it to work, but it was still hurting me at the end of the day. And so when I did finally let it go, it was like, again, like leaves like a soft scar on your heart or on your soul, I guess you could say. Next is For You, I Want To. I personally really love when Yeule does this thing when so they incorporate a lot of like that technological stuff and very glitchy type of stuff. They do it in like almost every song, but there's some songs where it's more noticeable than others, and For You, I Want To does that quite a bit, and it adds to the theme of wanting to change yourself or program yourself to make yourself into an artificial version of yourself that you're not, in order to get someone to love you, or changing yourself, picking out pretty parts of yourself for someone. And I feel like that's pretty relatable, not just to me, but as for a lot of people. But for me, it was that with that situationship that I was in, it kind of like, when you're in one for so long, it kind of like starts to eat at you and at your insecurities, and you start like finding yourself slowly changing yourself into someone that you're not, in hopes of that person noticing you more, or finally wanting to be with you. But it never works. It never works. Sorry to break it to you, it never works. But all it really does is just end up hurting you. But yeah, I just really love like the glitchy sounds and stuff that Yeule does throughout their work, and it's just one of the many things that I find really special and unique with their whole discography in general, to be honest. Because personally, for me, I just really love when songs have like really interesting and fun, pretty textures and sounds and stuff, and Yeule very proudly does that throughout all of their discography, and it's so awesome. It just tickles like certain parts of my brain that just is really nice. Okay, next one is Ghosts. Now this one for me was a little bit harder to interpret, I'd say. Um, from what I can interpret, it's so it would be like only eyes like yours can see ghosts, meaning someone broken or insane or someone that's disconnected from reality, and also wishing or longing to be real or sane enough to be truly loved. Um, at least that's how I interpreted it. The video alone on this song is also just so visually stunning, but that's how I feel with any Yeule video, to be honest. They're always just so unique and just really pretty to look at, and they all tell their own little story. And that's another thing I appreciate about Yeule's music is it's like a whole package of just very thoughtful and unique planning that goes into it. Not just with the music videos and the actual music itself or the production of it, but also even just how Yeule presents themselves as an artist and how they express themselves and their music through their clothing and their makeup, and they can be so experimental with it, and it's really cool to see. I just love when an artist or just people in general are so free to express themselves, and it's something I really admire. For me though, I can one way that I relate to this song is I have a hard time often feeling not real and feeling really disconnected from my own body, and I have a really hard time feeling present in anything, and it always makes it to where I feel like it's always been really hard for me to find someone to like for me to find my own person. But I know that's kind of like harsh for me to say it myself because you know, you can find your person whatever point later on in life, and sometimes it isn't a lifelong thing. Sometimes it could be a few year things and they could still be your person, and relationships with people change over time, and that's just kind of the reality of it. But it is hard for me to feel like I'm an actual person and not just some sort of entity, because I dissociate all the time, and it's like I forget I exist most of the time. So I'm always feeling like I'm seeking something, anything to make myself feel more grounded and connected to reality, if that makes sense to me, to who I am, who I'm trying to be, and kind of just figuring out what that is at the same time. I don't know, it always feels like a weird existential crisis that I'm having. It's very odd, and it makes me feel very isolated from other people, so that makes it a very lonely experience to even just exist most of the time for me. Yeah, I don't know, but it's also very comforting to hear this song and to know that there's people that do feel this way as well. So there's that comforting part of it, and that's a really sweet thing about Yule's music is that, at least for me, I can listen to it and it could give me a huge rush of emotions of sadness, and I could feel all of the sincerity and all of the lyrics, whether they're short, but they're all very meaningful, if that makes sense. And I could feel the sincerity of it, and at the same time, while I'm like kind of just engulfed by all this sadness, and it's like a warm hug at the same time. It's like a comforting sadness that just takes over you, and it's very comforting at the end of the day for me. Next is daisies, and the way I've interpreted it is as watching yourself rot away and wither away. And although you're kind of really saddened by seeing yourself in that sort of state, you're also complicit in it and you're allowing to happen, but also at the same time probably just doing it to yourself intentionally. I really appreciate the intense guitar, that the guitar sound that you can hear throughout it, and the screaming vocals that add to like the feeling of pain and the suffering and the intensity that Yeule is trying to convey, not just through the lyrics, but just being able to do that vocally and sonically is really cool. It really does help set the tone for the song, and I like how towards the end, Yeule does these very soft vocals that kind of just slows you back, and it's just a good song from start to end. Personally, I relate to it as for years, honestly, I've struggled with a lot of mental health stuff, and it has even just years ago, it had gotten to a point where I was in such a desperate state of wanting to feel some sort of release that I started resorting to very harmful behaviors on myself, with that being self-harm or my eating disorder, and that also making it honestly worse, but it turning into a sort of feeling that I kind of have to hurt myself in order to feel something, in order to feel at least momentarily escape from the desperate sadness, overwhelming emotional state of everything. That it's a really harmful escape, but it's an escape nonetheless, and it's turned into where I kind of feel like I sort of almost deserve it at some point. Even though like I know logically that's not true, and that it's not good for you, but your brain gets really messed up when you train it to be some sort of way, and after a while it's a really hard cycle to break. And whether you do kick some habit or another, you end up finding yourself still having these mental patterns, and it's kind of just like exercising your brain to be healthy again. But of course, mental health isn't always linear, so there's always ups and downs with it. Okay, next I will be talking about fish in the pond. Fish in the pond is, I feel like it's more of a nice little interlude, right in the middle of the album. There's no lyrics in it, but it offers a nice, almost lullaby-like feeling in the midst of all of these, really, honestly, really intense songs. So it gives you like a nice cool down break, and it's very pleasant and beautiful to listen to. There's actually been quite a few times where I've had like I found like videos that do like loops, like hour loops of it or whatever, and they add like background sounds like crickets or water or rain or whatever, and it's so calming, and it's really sweet. It reminds me a lot of this one performance I saw that Yeule did for this YouTube channel. They did a few piano pieces, and it was not only just really cool to watch, but really beautiful to listen to. And I'm pretty sure I featured one of the pieces that Yeule did in this video as well. Now we're going to be discussing software update. I interpret it as kind of talking about becoming a manufactured version of yourself, that you've built around the person that you want to really love you back, or changing yourself in a way that's in any way possible, even if that means putting yourself in harm's way, whether it be mentally or physically. It's really similar to, at least like lyrically, it's similar to For You I Win Too in terms of the theme of the song. And I really appreciate all the very pretty vocals and textures that are really robotic like and glitchy like, that adds to the theme of kind of like manufacturing yourself into a version of yourself that doesn't really exist, honestly. And again, as I mentioned before, it's really similar to For You I Want To, and it also coincides with the really consistent mentions of like technological things and you know, that sort of theme that Yeule likes to really touch on quite often. Again, Inferno also goes with the really techy type of sounds, even with like the way Yeule is singing the lyrics. It's very like, it almost sounds like a metronome to me, but it's really cool. It's really robotic like, and it adds again to that going on theme from software update and which one was it, For You I Win Too, about what's it called, about being a very manufactured version of yourself, and also being willing to do anything for this person that you love, even if it means hurting yourself, or really neglecting yourself to a point that it hurts. Now we're going on to Blood Bunny, which to me this song feels more like a cyborg in love, if that makes sense. It's really deliberate in its use of the robotic vocals again, and the glitch-like sounds, and even with the way Yeule almost professes their love for this person, they do it in a very robotic-like way. Because Yeule also really likes to do this thing where they say their lyrics are very short, but they all have a very strong meaning, an impactful meaning, and it says a lot, just in that small little phrase. But that also adds in this song to giving off that robotic vibe and feeling like it's like almost like a robotic entity talking about or professing their love to this person. Now, on to my personal favorite song on the album, and honestly, probably one of my favorite songs of all time, and one of my favorite songs of Yeule's ever, Cyber Meat. I really, again, love how disconnected feeling and robotic feeling the lyrics are, which I know it's like a consistent thing, of course, as I mentioned before, in a lot of the songs on this album, but also just on their discography in general. But I love the it's like, I feel like it's a perfect blend of that shoegaze-ish sound that Yeule has been kind of going for with this album, and it's, especially once you get to the, what's it called, the part where Yeule goes cyber heat, cyber meat, and then it gets like that really fun and funky fucking rock type of sound. That's like my favorite part. Every time it gets to that part, it gets me so pumped, and it's just a song that just never fails to get my blood pumping and makes me feel really good, and it's just really close to my heart. I just absolutely love everything about it. It's just a work of art. I can't say more about it. It's just so fun. It's just a song that feels really how do I say it? It's just a song that feels really fun, and I just really connect with the lyrics a lot. It's really cool. It just feels so fun to listen to, and sonically, lyrically, everything's just amazing. Okay, now on to the final song on the album, Aphex Twin Flame. Um, my theory is it's a reference to Aphex Twin, aka Richard David James. Um, my theory is that this song is a reference to Aphex Twin, aka Richard David James. His name is like a combo of the Aphex Systems Limited, which is a brand of audio signal processing equipment, and the word twin that's added onto the name is to kind of remember his older brother who had passed away. And his sound is also very ambient and glitchy. It uses a lot of house and techno. And at the time when MTV was really big, he was really a really cool trailblazer for experimental music in general, and kind of exposing it to wider audiences. And kind of like with the experimental music type of sound is kind of similar to what Yeule is known for, but they do have very different sounds, if that makes sense. And this song goes again over not feeling connected to reality or not feeling real, and also resorting to harmful coping mechanisms, or doing things that harm you in order to feel either sort of a general adrenaline rush, or to feel something in order to feel more connected and real, even if it's just for a little moment. And the monotonous singing that Yeule does in this song also helps add to that tired and almost robotic feel that Yeule has been trying to convey throughout the lyrics and as well. Again, I'm not very well versed in all the professional terms when it comes to music. This is just a video that I'm making simply just out of my pure adoration for Yeule and their music. So forgive me, it's not gonna be perfect, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be. It's just a video I wanted to make for fun. And I just wanted to do a little extra and just talk about Echo, which is Yeule's latest single. I love this song. I love so many things about it. I think it's like a really good blend of the new shoegaze inspired sound that they've been going for, and also mixing that glitchy and ambient and texture rich sound that they're known for. Personally, I really love this song because it feels like a really good blend of that newer shoegaze inspired sound that they've been going for with soft scars, and also mixing their glitchy and like ambient and texture rich sound that they've included a lot in their past songs. And I feel like, I don't know if it's just me, but for some reason the vocals in this song remind me a lot of Avril Lavigne. At least like the style of it. And I remember seeing somewhere on a Reddit forum where Yeule did a Q&A where they talked about how a specific Avril Lavigne album is a big inspiration for them, or that they really liked it. So it could actually have some inspiration from there, but I just personally like that touch. It's a really good sound, and for them vocally, and it's just a really good song in general, and I've been having it on repeat ever since it's come out. So really great song. I love it. 10 out of 10.